very recent paintings made just from when the time you were visiting, actually, like October. And I'm working with some sand in this. I'm using quartz also, but at a very micro scale. And I'm using a lot of different thicknesses of paint. So you'll have some areas that are very textured, and then some that are more washed, and then the resin that creates this glossy flow pattern. And the resin again works as a resist, and it will pick up the color and flow and it'll kind of move off the canvas. And that's what a river will do. It'll pick up the sediment and it'll flow away with it. It'll pull it away. So I'm kind of examining, the patterns of the rivers, but at the same time, like, what are all the pebbles and all the debris and all the things in its path, or what is it churning up, and what is it taking with it, and what is it discovering? And there's a lot of precious metals that we discover in rivers. So I'm commenting on the gold and the turquoise and some of these different kind of separating patterns and how it flows around obstacles in its path. And I use different thicknesses of paint so that I can get these textures. I'll use like a heavy bodied medium paint or a light bodied paint if I want it to flow more. Then with the resin as a final layer, that will go on and separate around everything. And this painting is called Plasma Dreams, and this painting is called Intimate Awareness. So again, I relate it back to consciousness and the mind, more on a spiritual level. So you have the paintings for themselves, but then what I've been thinking about and researching, which is the cause for creating the painting in the first place, usually has to do with my state of awareness or humanity's evolution and spiritual growth. So over here we have a triptych. It's a 3-panel piece that I painted all together. I have a photography background, and I tended to always shoot multiple photos, similar photos of the same thing, to kind of understand the whole meaning. And so often I'll work in diptych or triptych in order to capture the whole meaning of something. So one doesn't say it all. Sometimes I need 3. So that will say it all. And yeah, I feel like it's more complete with all of them. And these are including the resin mixed with some opacity so that you get more of a layering that has like a fog or you can see underneath it, yet there's a little bit of something obscuring. So that's what I was working with those, and then just the colors. These are called evolving patterns, and I think they're just simply numbered, but Evolving Patterns was a solo exhibition I had in Morristown, New Jersey in 2013, and these were done after that show, but I continued this series of Evolving Patterns for 2 more years after that. So they're more recent Evolving Patterns, and it's kind of where I've evolved to with them, where they're simply water pours and not as much mixed into them. I find it was like more of a basic approach, a simpler approach before I got into working with a lot of the gold and the resin.
And there's a lot of pink too.
Yeah, and the pink and the paint. Then they're really an exploration. When I'm working with these, I'll have them probably propped up against a rock, so they'll be on a really steep angle. So the flow patterns will just keep pouring off, pouring off, pouring off. I go through a lot of paint and then reuse it and just keep pouring it over and over again. Because depending on the angle, because when I'm working outside, I'm either like propping it up a little with a tiny rock or more, depending on how much flow I want to get. So this had a tremendous amount of flow. And then I'm always interested in the micro details too. When you look really close, you get some of this crackling that occurs from the resin and the paint resisting each other. You'll get that nice detail in there. And I love letting nature do what it does best. So I get this kind of crackle looks and even some of the bubbling in through here. So they always have like a micro detail appeal to them as well as a macro. Just like water can be seen on both scales, kind of cellular, internal, or externally in our world.